What's up, guys? Today we are going to be taking this old, neglected Sega Genesis that's all dirty and going from this to this cleaned, not dirty Sega Genesis console. In this video, I will show you how to make your Sega Genesis go from how it looked just a minute ago to looking all nice and clean like this. So, follow along and please enjoy. The first step is going to be to flip it over and take the 4 Phillips head screws out of the bottom. Once the 4 screws have been removed, you can take the top shell off. Set this to the side. Once you open the console, this is what you'll be met with. There are 8 screws around the console to remove this heat shield. You can also set this to the side. The next step is going to be take these 2 screws on either side of the cartridge slot out. Once you have removed both of those screws, your motherboard is now free. Be careful for the ports back here and the controller port. And your heat shield on the bottom will also be released. The reason for those screws being so long is it has to go through this piece, then screw into the back. So that's why those are so long. And you have your plastics, which are ready to be cleaned. So I will show you that right now. Fortunately, my camera for the plastics was not working today. So hopefully that will be working for the next video. But basically, what I did was I got an old toothbrush, filled the sink up with water, got soap and scrubbed all the plastics down so I got all of the dirt off them. But the next step, I have some basically electric compressed air, normal compressed air, anything that can blow some wind. And I'm just going to dust the motherboard off because I can't use water or anything on it. Once you have finished dusting your motherboard off, it doesn't have to be perfect, there's still some dust on it. You're not going to see it, just good enough to where you're making sure you're not opening yourself up to corrosion or anything. After you're finished with your motherboard, you can continue to reassembly of the main console. Okay, you are going to start by installing your heat shield. I often forget this, so don't be like me. Make sure you do it in the correct orientation, and then your little plastic bracket for your game card slot, followed by your motherboard. Make sure everything is in the correct orientation so it all fits right when you put it all back together. Once your motherboard is installed, put the 2 long screws in that you took out of the motherboard. Once your 2 screws are installed there, you can install your top heat shield. To take your top heat shield and just like before, install it and install the 8 screws that were on it previously. Once you have reinstalled your 8 screws, you can put the top shell onto your Sega Genesis. You can take your top shell, install it onto your rest of your console, and I cleaned the heads of my screws because they were corroded, and reinstall all 4 bottom screws. Once your top screws are installed, you have now officially cleaned your Sega Genesis. As you can see, this console still isn't perfect. I could get in there with, I believe I've seen reports of people using I believe the product is called Plastex, to clean these scratches, but I'm fine with this. It's not dirty. I think it looks pretty good for what it is. I paid $40-ish for it at an auction on eBay, so I'm happy. I am now going to move on to the controllers. Starting with my wired controller, I'm going to take the 6 Phillips head screws out of the back of the controller. Once you have removed the 6 screws, the back shell will separate from the controller, and you can set that aside. After you take the back shell off, you will be met with a pretty simple motherboard. So just pop the wire out, and the motherboard will follow. So I'm going to set this assembly to the side. And something I do sometimes, if your motherboard is damaged or your shell is damaged, you can go to a retro game store, and because these are so simple, you can either buy a Sega Genesis controller from them, like a brand new non-OEM one, and install the motherboard into your OEM shell, or vice versa, install your OEM motherboard into their shell, and you could get a somewhat Sega official controller for $10-15. So that's a good way to reuse your broken controllers. But you are going to take all of these little grommets out of the button housings, and then once all of those are out, the buttons will just fall out. And I'm going to take these and clean these the exact same way that I cleaned the console itself. Do be aware, you are going to want to clean these grommets too, because often they collect hand sweat through the buttons. So I'm going to do that now. Okay, your next step is going to be to clean this pretty dirty cable. So I have just like the corner of an old towel, and it's got a little soap and water on it, and I'm just going to wipe the cable. Do not wipe the motherboard. Do not wipe the motherboard with this rag. You will damage it, but the cable will be fine with a little bit of water on it. So just kind of go down it. As you can see, all that dirt that it picked up off the cable, it's going to be a lot better than if you just left it. It'll make the whole thing look clean instead of just the casing. My motherboard, I don't see anything that shows a need for dusting it with the electric duster. I'm going to clean these screw heads because just like last time, see that big old piece of dust and stuff? These are very dirty. I'm going to clean those, and then we are going to reassemble this controller. Beginning reassembly, you are going to take your front shell and put all of the buttons in the correct orientation back into your casing. Also, be sure to put the grommets back or else the buttons won't feel good. Okay, once you've reinstalled all of that, you can reinstall your motherboard, making sure the green is facing down into the buttons. Also, be sure to put this cable back through its little slots so it is protected, so if you accidentally yank the cable, you won't rip it out of the motherboard. So your next step is to grab your backplate. Let me see. That's my cat. So you're going to put your backplate back on and put the 6 screws back in like so. Okay, once you put those 6 screws in, your Sega Genesis controller has been cleaned and restored. I'm going to move on to our next product in the video. Okay, next we have the Sega Genesis IR wireless controller. Leave your thoughts on this controller in the comments. I've seen mixed reviews on it online, so leave your thoughts if you've used it in the comments below. But you are going to remove these 4 screws to open, actually 5, sorry, there's one right there, to open the back shell. Okay, once you have removed those 5 screws, the back will lift off. And as you can see, the one spring will stay in, one will stay connected to the motherboard. So keep that there, set that to the side. And this motherboard also will simply lift out and have the grommet stayed on, yours might stay on the buttons, but just peel them off and set your motherboard to the side. This one has a similar design to the wired controller, just a few more parts to take out, and then all of the buttons fall out. There's actually a screw on the D-pad to take it out, unlike the other controller. So be sure to take that out. But then the D-pad should, pop out like so. Once that is done, your wireless controller is ready to be cleaned, just like every other part in this video. Starting reassembly. I'm going to take the little round part for the D-pad, put that through, put your D-pad on the other side, hold it together, and put the one gold/silver, whatever color you want to call it, screw through the middle until it is snug. It will feel a little wonky right now, but when you put the motherboard on, it should feel much, much better. Your next step is going to be to grab all of your buttons and install those in their respective locations. So, going to do that now. Once you've installed all of your buttons, you can take your little grommets, or whatever you want to call them, little mesh, and install that onto your buttons. Once your grommets are installed, your next step will be to install your motherboard. You are now watching me struggle for 5 minutes as I try to get all the switches and buttons and peripherals into the controller that I forgot to install the first time. So enjoy! Okay, once all 5 screws have been installed, you can reinstall your batteries, reinstall your backplate, and your wireless controller has now been torn down, cleaned, and rebuilt. So I have 2 cables to show y'all how to clean, and that will be the rest of the video. Okay, the last things I'm going to clean in this video are the power supply and the connector for the TV. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is the same way I cleaned the controllers cables. Just take this towel and wipe it down and kind of get in the brick too. Just wipe it down, get all that dust and dirt that are on it off. And that's what I'm going to do for this. And a similar process for the TV cable. Just going to run this down the wire, wipe the box down, clean this cable and the end. And now, that was the final part of the cleaning for this video. I will now show you guys all the before and afters of all the components that we did. Thank you for watching, and please consider subscribing, and I will see you around.